talking today about backward design and using the Understanding by Design, or UbD, framework as a part of the teacher planning process. In the previous video, we established that using the UbD framework helps educators structure and guide curriculum, assessment, and instruction. Remember, with UbD, there are two main ideas. One, we focus on teaching and assessing for understanding and learning transfer, and two, we design curriculum backward from those ends. Now to review, we have some key questions in planning for unit development, like first of all, what are the big ideas and skills that we want the students to leave knowing? Second, what's going to count as evidence that our students really learned what we were teaching? And third, what kind of learning experiences can I plan to get my students there? What do I need to consider about these students and their needs? Today, we're going to focus specifically on determining acceptable evidence. So we're asking questions about what kind of performance or product is going to show real evidence of meaning making and transfer for the students. And what about additional evidence that we might collect that's going to help us with those desired results? And those assessments need to meet one of these facets of understanding: ability to explain, interpret, apply and adjust, have perspective, show empathy, or self-knowledge. So we need to ask some questions about each of our assessments. One, what specific performance should the students be able to do well if their learning has been successful? And in that performance, where and what should we look for to determine success or failure at meeting those goals? Now, the major transfer goals are being assessed in the most in-depth way, and we use the acronym GRASPS to help create authentic tasks for complex performance assessment. So G is for a real-world goal. R is for the student role in the project. A is for the audience. S is for the situation, which has a real-world application. P is the product that the student generates or their performance in the task. And the second S is for standards. These are the standards that will be used to judge the success of the student's work. So let's take a look at the template. We're looking at stage 2, and stage 2 of the template begins with the performance tasks. These tasks we want to connect back to the transfer and understanding goals. These are performance tasks, and we want them to show or demonstrate that our students really understand the big ideas of our unit. You can see in this section we also include criteria that are used to assess these performance tasks. Now this next section is for all of the other evaluation methods. These can also be connected back to meaning and transfer and knowledge and skills. But the difference between these assessments and the assessments in the earlier section is that these might assess things like factual knowledge or skills that are actually foundational for the understandings that will come later. And the last component of stage 2 of the UbD template is the grading rubric. And in this section, we look at how we're going to assess and then develop a rubric that will be used to evaluate the student performance. So with the rubric, we have to list the criteria that we want to use to evaluate the assessment, the levels of that rubric, and then a description of each one. Because the purpose of the rubric is that the students can look at it and refer to it. They'll see clearly what the goal is, what we want for them in terms of their performance task. It makes the performance objectives transparent to the student, and they can very clearly see what's going to be exceptional work, what's going to be acceptable work, what is going to be work that is in development, or work that is simply unacceptable. It's important here that if there are guidelines by a specific organization that we're using for our standards, we want to consider incorporating those guidelines into the rubric. So that's been a look at stage 2 of the Understanding by Design framework template. And in our next video, we will look at stage 3.